Welcome to Uncut with Lucia, and thank you for joining us. Today we have a special guest, Diann Floyd Boehm. Diann is a prolific author with numerous published books to her name. Her latest books, Charlie and the Tire Swing, How It All Began, and A Time to Fly, are out now. So, Diann, welcome to Uncut with me, Lucia.
Oh, hello. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share my books with you.
Of course, it's my pleasure. We already spoke once
Mhm.
in the Relatable Voice podcast, and it was absolutely lovely. And I couldn't be happier to have you here today again, Diane.
Thank you. Like I said, it's a complete honor, and you're such a beautiful spirit in the way you help people know about these incredible stories that are being written. I mean, you're a real blessing on earth. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Diane, as a former teacher who transitioned into a successful career as a book author, we are curious to know more about your journey. So, maybe you could tell us about the inspiration, passion, or personal experiences that fueled your desire to become a writer and share your stories with the world.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I have always been a storyteller. Like I hit the stage at 10 and it was a group of us and we sang Dominica Nica Nica, a French song. And when I heard the audience clap, I was like, I love the stage. And I loved it because had a moment in time where you made people happy. And so singing was part of my storytelling. Acting and being on stage was storytelling for me. And then when I became a classroom educator, no matter what grade I taught, whether it was kindergarten or all the way to 8th grade, I always opened the day with reminding everyone to just forget your troubles that are bothering you right now. When you're with me, we're a family, and everyone has to love each other because we work together as a team. And if I knew things that were going on, I might come up with a story. And actually, the 8th graders love the stories too. And fast forward, I realized as my kiddos were growing up that one day they're going to say, oh my gosh, mother doesn't know anything. I'm not going to listen to her about raising children. Yeah, you know how that is, right? And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to take my stories and I'm going to put them to print so that one day when I have grandchildren and they're like, Daddy, will you read me a story? They'll go, I don't want that story. I want grandma's story. And my kids, which is happening now, would say, I know the message grandma is trying to get across. So that really inspired me to really want to take my stories and put them to print. The other thing was that inspired me was I was working out in the garden, and this is when it all came to me that I needed to do this. And you receive inspiration. Some people receive it when they're walking, gardening, singing on stage, wherever the inspiration comes. And that particular day, I was gardening, and so this voice just said, you really need to put things to print. And I thought about it and I came in and that's what I started doing. And the reason it came to me was like, when you've been in the classroom and you hear stories and children and you come up and you just make up stories that'll help them feel good about themselves. I thought the more, which is ironic, I used to teach technology, by the way, and the more technology started taking over young kids' lives, the more I was thinking, okay, I used to really promote technology, but now I need to do the opposite. I need to help these young kids want to lay in the grass and wiggle their toes in the grass and look at the clouds and just enjoy the silence for a moment. And so I'm going to write books that embrace imagination. And so that's my tagline, embrace imagination.
Yes, I saw. I've been reading your books since we met the first time. And
Thank you so much.
yes, of course. And also, Diane, I think that working with children is an incredibly fulfilling experience. And when we work with kids, we have also opportunities to learn with them. It's not only, it's a reciprocal. So
Absolutely.
reciprocal. So
You're perfect.
and so could you also provide a glimpse into your writing process for crafting stories that resonate with children?
Sure, I'll be happy to. First of all, this is my magic room where everything happens. And so it's called the Story Garden, and I painted that sunflower there. And that was my daddy and mom's favorite flower. So sunny and happiness, right? And it's like once I step into this room, it's sort of a room that just automatically puts me in the zone. And so I have that going on. The other thing is, as a young writer, before I even was published, and I thought about, okay, I'm going to move into this world. I need to study the art of writing. But what is it I want to get across? So I thought and thought, and then I wrote out, well, I knew it was embrace imagination. And then I thought, I want some of my themes to be about kindness, to love yourself, and about peace. And so when I start thinking of stories, and again, it always happens when I'm gardening or even when I'm singing, a thought will come through my mind, and then I'll walk and I let these ideas percolate. And then all of a sudden, boom, the story comes, except for the really long ones, like the historical fiction. Um, and then I put it together. But all of them always deal with one or more of those themes, and I don't vary from that. It's really important to me that I put those things in, so that when people think of Diann Floyd Boehm, they're like, "Oh, if I have one of her books, my kid's going to be happy."
Yes, I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I'm sure they think about it. And also, children's books have the power to convey important themes. Yeah.
They do have the power of important themes. So, like A Time to Fly, or lots of children's books, from other authors, not just me. You know, there are many children's books are multi-layered. And what I mean by that is that how an adult reads a story to a young one, because maybe they are not reading yet, but they love to hear, the stories, and that's important. That so in like A Time to Fly, oh, the little kid will go, oh, isn't that so cute? The little bird learned how to fly. That's so sweet, mommy. But uh, a, a parent's going to read this story and go, you know, I didn't think I wanted that new job because I'm so afraid of taking it and messing up. But after reading that story over and over to my, loved one, I'm like, actually, they inspired me to just go for it. And that's what I want. I don't want my books for kids to outgrow them. I want them to, just like me, have a lot of books in their library that touch their hearts. And so, for example, a book called Beautiful Joe, when it was first written, it was written in the late 1800s, and then it was reproduced when I was about in fifth grade. I did not like reading at all. I wanted to be out. No, not at all. Which bothered my mom to pieces. She was always reading like 3 books a day practically. But I wanted to be with my 5 brothers. I wanted to be out there running, and I couldn't hit a baseball with anything, but I was trying, I was out there just having a blast, and but when I read that book, which was required, we read it as a class. I could not put the book down. Like I would read that ahead of everybody just because I had to find out about this doggy. And that changed my world in reading. And that can tell you how powerful children's, it's a chapter book, but it can tell you how powerful a book has on a child's life.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
completely. Actually, I have to tell you, your books are just lovely.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you told me before that you won some awards last week. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, sure. So, Charlie and the Tire Swing and A Time to Fly. So proud of them. Um, they've won several awards, and the newest award is called the Mom's Choice Awards. And that's pretty powerful. It takes a long time for the books, once you submit them, to go through their process. And it's a pretty strong process. So when you win the award, it's a big deal. And just like with the company that runs Mom Choice Awards, they don't just pick everybody, because moms, when they see that seal, they know that this is a solid book.
And do you mind showing us some illustrations? Um,
Sure, I'll be happy to. The illustrator for Charlie and the Tire Swing is Judy Gaudette, and she lives up in Maine. And she is just so, as you can already tell from the cover, just a lovely artist. I think what I love about how she took my words and illustrated them is it was going to be difficult. And I was really going to be like, how on earth is she going to show the different seasons to show how this little acorn became this giant oak tree? And so, she has the fall going on, and it's still underground, nothing's happening. And so, of course, the grandpa, it's a wonderful story that, shares great grandpa, great grandma, great. So it shows the family, and I love that, because in this story, I want I want to hear, which I have, from parents saying, I couldn't even finish the story because my kid wanted to know if they had a great great grandpa. And before I know it, I'm sharing our family history, and I'm like, yes, that's what I wanted, family history. So anyway, and then it's like February and nothing's going on yet. And then the dad's like, well, I mean, the grandpa's like, you need to be patient. It takes a while. A lot of magic is happening. And let me see if I can find one of my other ones where it starts popping up. I love all of them. They're so amazing. Look at this one with the snowman. Isn't that adorable?
Beautiful. Who is your illustrator? What's her name?
Um, Judy Gaudette, and she lives up in Maine. And I've actually know her now and visited her several times because she's brought such magic. And here you can see a great grandpa and a great grandma,
Mhm.
and then the oak magic happens. The tree starts to grow, and before you know, it's this giant oak tree,
Mhm.
which this oak tree is the real tree in my family's home, my husband's family's home. And that's what inspired me. So we would sit in the kitchen and could see this oak tree. And so one of my kids, when they were little, asked their grandpa, um, they would say, Pop, how on earth did that tree get so big? And he started telling a story. And then years later, which is now, I thought, I'm going to write about this gorgeous oak tree. So there it is.
And
So
it is an old oak tree, very
yeah, it's I think she said it was planted in 1914.
1914, and it's
Yeah,
super
it's
beautiful.
still growing, has a home for owls and squirrels and birds. And one time there was a beautiful, beautiful eagle that was there just for a little bit, which is very rare to have an eagle here in Texas. And then the eagle left, and a giant hawk came. So that tree has done a lot. So yeah, I really I fall in love with all my stories. People go, which one is your favorite? And I'm like, I can't pick one because each one is so, so special, um, because of the message.
And
And a time to fly. The illustrator is Nancy Hoover, and she's actually a friend of mine, a very famous Austin illustrator, as well as artist, and is known for her work around Austin. And as you can see, she does very detailed work. Can you see that? Um,
I love
and
this.
she really captures the little bird learning how to flap its wings, because the little bird's saying to his mom, I don't want to leave. I'm like really happy where I am. Why should I leave? And the mom's like, oh, we got a problem here. Everyone else has left, you know? And so very gently, the mama says, I tell you what, I'm going to tell you about the day you were born, and I'll tell you a tiny bit, and then I'll say flap one time. So it starts to tell the story about how they came to be. And then the bird would flap, and then the bird would flap, flap, and then a little bit more flap, flap. And before you knew it, the bird was flying. And my grandson just loves hearing flap, 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 flap. and and that makes me so happy, right?
These stories are so important for kids.
It's really interesting that I mean, that's a wonderful question, actually, because for children's authors, we have to be very careful that we don't use words that might be too big. Now, I'm a true believer that we need to have vocabulary, a good, strong vocabulary, but at the same time, we don't want to water it down so much that the kids are always just saying, little tiny baby words. So I do introduce like vegetation into the new book that's coming out. And I had to really think about that. And then I thought, no, a kindergartner can handle the word vegetation. And the way I decided it was, to kind of try it out with some kindergarten age. And they're like, oh, yeah, I know what that is. And I'm like, wow, I'm amazed. Okay, well, vegetation will stay in, right? But some people make the mistake of thinking it's a children's book, but the vocabulary is just too high.
And to writing for kids is not easy. It's a big responsibility for us.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. For me, it comes naturally because I'm a kid at heart. And then teaching young children for so long, I can sit down on the floor and just become a kid like that. And knowing so many young children's songs, and even reminding kids when they're in the sixth, seventh grade, eighth grade, okay, you guys are really stressed, because I always taught in private school, so I could sing songs that would be probably not appropriate in public school. But we would sing like, do you know the one, Joy, Joy, Down in Your Heart? I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart, where? And then it just, because they're like going, where? And they're seeing their teacher go, where? And they're like, and by this time I'm doing this, they're already used to me and being animated. And so then like the whole atmosphere changes in the classroom and everyone's happy and they're ready to go. And I think that's really important, to know your students and to know that if your students are stressed and anxious, you're not going to get much taught that day. But if you can bring them in as a family and relieve that stress for your atmosphere that you're trying to provide, you're going to teach a lot more. And so when I think of these stories, Embrace Imagination, I think about what atmosphere do I want to create for the parent or the loved one to read to their loved one. And that's how I come up with the story.
You're incredible, Diane. I really admire your work, admire you as a person.
Thank you. That's so kind.
Yes. And I would like to know, where can we find you? Our audience can find you, and of course, your many books.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Of course, they're on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, but they're also like on Amazon in England and in the Arab Amazon. So I feel very lucky that internationally you can purchase them. You can also purchase them in your local bookstores, and they can order it. And generally, most of the bookstores can have it in a turnaround in less than 4 days, or the most I've heard was 5 days. So that's not too bad. But then my website, if you go to diannfloydboehm.com, and I'm going to spell it DiannFloydBoehm.com, you can find me, and my newsletter lets you know about everything I'm up to, how you can have me as a speaker or guest author in schools and so forth, because I absolutely love that. And And then it has all my social media. So right there on my website, you can connect to me with Instagram, Facebook, etc. So thank you for asking.
Yes, I follow you in all.
Thank you.
And Diane, I just want to say thank you for your time, for this conversation, which is always amazing to speak with you. And I hope you continue to pursue your dreams and inspire
Wow.
others through your remarkable journey. It's just fabulous. And I'm sure you'll come back because you'll be publishing many other books that I know.
Thank you so much. And like, again, thank you for having me. It's quite an honor. And, I'm a fairly new author. So when someone of your magnitude tells me you enjoy my stories, then I know I'm on the right track. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Also, for more captivating interviews with authors and creatives, don't forget to subscribe to our channel at www.wordauthors.org. And again, thank you for coming here.
You're welcome. Thank you and have a blessed day.